All right, welcome everybody. I'm so excited to have a young lady in the building. She needs no introduction. She's actually one of my favorites. I mean, you think about TD Jakes, Joel Osteen, Pastor John Jenkins. You have to put her up there on those mountains of greatness. And I've been watching her for a very long time. Truly a treat. Has changed my life. You know, I've had one of my biggest years this year and last year because of her resources, because of her ministry, deeply poured into me. And I just think this is God's time. And please welcome none other than the powerhouse herself, Dr. Jazz. Welcome.
Thank you so very much, Kate. How are you?
I'm great, great. How are you?
It's a victory day.
Yes, yes, definitely. So I just want to jump right in. Can you tell people a little bit about yourself and then kind of where you are now?
Okay, sure. And thanks for calling me young. I don't think I'm young anymore. But David said I was young and now I'm old. I've never seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. I'm from the beautiful island of Trinidad and Tobago. I'm a pastor, I'm a philanthropist, I'm an aunt, I'm a dancer, I'm a preacher, and I've had the opportunity of traveling all over the world preaching the gospel. And now I'm stationed here in Bowie, Maryland, in your backyard from Washington, D.C. I'm a golfer also. I like to tell people things that I really like to do that people may not know about. And I'm just enjoying life and enjoying the presence of God and glad to be with you today.
Okay. So I want to get right into it. How did you not let people get you in a complacent box? You know, as a pastor, you expanded your brand, your businesses. So how did you not let people get you in this, keep you in that box?
Yeah, I don't know if it's Chuck Swindle. It may be Chuck Swindle who says life consists of 5% of what happens to you and 95% of how you respond. I'll say that again. Life consists of 5% of what happens to you and 95% of how you respond. And the way I don't let people put me in the box is people are just the 5%. They're not the 95%. Okay, so when you keep people in perspective and you keep position and power in perspective, you don't allow people to box you in or to restrict you or to confine you in what you can do, what you can say, who you can be with, or what you can do in terms of ministry or just in life. So I rarely focus on what people think about me or what people say about me. I have no clue what they say even now because that's not my focus and that's not my emphasis. And I think sometimes younger women in particular, men also, but younger women, we tend to be outward focused than inward focus. In my 20s, I was all about outward focus, what people think, what people think. I think when you get to like your 30s or your 40s, you're like, doggone it. If I feel like cutting my hair, I'm going to cut my hair. If I
Right.
feel like wearing eyelashes, I'm going to wear eyelashes because at the end of the day, the only person you want to please is God and the people who really matters.
I love it. I love it. So let's talk about the importance of not forcing doors to open. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, on that forcing doors, here's how I put it. I believe that there's a rhythm in life. There's a rhythm in life. Everybody's on a rhythm, everybody's in a flow, a flow. And when you are in the right flow, doors automatically open. It's like going to the mall. You've been to the mall and you get to the automatic doors, right? The moment you step to the door, it automatically open. You don't have to push it, you don't have to jar it, you don't have to pull it. You just have to show up. And I think when you show up in being authentically yourself, being real, I have a movement called Finally Me for Real. And it's taking women through a journey through the book of Esther. Now, you're familiar with the book of Esther because Esther is the queen, but she's not the first queen. She's the second queen, right? Because before Esther, there's Vashti. But then Esther shows up and the door just opened. And I think the reason why the door opened for Esther is because Esther was authentically herself. And I think when you are authentically yourself, you don't have to pry, you don't have to force, or push doors open. And I always tell this story. That's how really I met Bishop Jakes. It was at First Baptist Church of Glenarden. Bishop Jakes has came and preached at First Baptist Church of Glenarden, your church, and he had a little gathering after the revival, New Year's revival, and it's always at this particular house. And let me tell you something, sis. Preachers will fly all over from everywhere in the country, not really for the revival, but they want the invitation to the after party, to the
Yeah.
after fellowship. And it may be about, maybe there was only about 30 people who were invited. And I remember that day, I'm in the service and Bishop Jakes is preaching, and there's this lady who carries the invitation. Like if she's carrying $1 million, right? She's carrying the invitation and she's handing it to people and she's handing it to people. And so between me was Ambassador Susan Johnson Cook, Bishop Timothy Clark. And so the lady comes down our aisle and she gives Susan Johnson Cook an invitation. She gives Bishop Timothy Clark an invitation. And I'm in the middle and she doesn't give me any invitation. And I remember my son, he's in the audience and he's texting me and he's like, Mom, did you get an invitation? And I said, no. He said, man, Mom, those people are going to get to meet with Bishop Jakes. And was I feeling down about it? Of course I was feeling down. Everybody on my row had gotten that envelope to go meet with Bishop Jakes except me. And
Mm.
service is over. I'm leaving. And Pastor Jenkins, he's like on the stage and he has his phone and he's waving it at me, waving his phone at me. He's like, look at your phone, look at your. So I'm like, okay, let me see what Pastor Jenkins wants. And I
Right.
look at my phone and it was this address to this house. He said, can you come to this house? I said, sure. So got in the car with my son, drove over to the house. And would you know, the door that was open was the place that the other 30 people had gotten an invitation. And here's the crazy thing, sis. I don't know where they were in the parking lot, but I got there before the other 30 people got there. And so Bishop Jakes is sitting here, and I'm the second guest. So they sat me right here and I didn't have an invitation.
Mm.
Oh, I'm trying to tell you, that's why when you show up and be authentically yourself, you don't have to force doors. You don't have to manipulate your way. You don't have to beg nobody. Because this is what I say, when it's your time and your turn, nothing can stop you.
I love it. I love it. I don't think I've heard that story before. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, yeah, that is just, that story always reminds me that God has me in mind. She didn't give me an invitation, but I'm telling you, Pastor Jenkins was waving, and I looked, he said, get to this address. And we got there, and that door opened. And from that door being open, the door to preach at the Potter's house, the door to preach at Woman Thou Loose, the door to preach at Mega Fest, the door to preach everywhere on TBN, the door to preach at the Word Network, the door to preach in so many countries, just that door. And I would tell everybody, just be authentically you.
Mm. Wow. Wow. So, how can people tell the difference between God's voice and the devil, which makes us think it came from God?
Yeah, oh, that's a very good question. When I think of it, and because I'm a preacher, so I always refer to scriptures in terms of, first of all, it's not easy to distinguish or discern between God's voice and your voice and the devil's voice, really, honestly. In fact, you think about Peter, who traveled with Jesus for 3 years, and Peter is on the ship, and Jesus is on the water, and Peter says, Lord, if it is you.
Mm.
Now, you would think Peter, who been hanging out with Jesus for 3 years, because remember, Jesus is walking on the water and stuff like that, and he's giving them an invitation. And before Peter steps out of the water, he used that word that many people forget, and that's the word if. Lord, if it is you, let
Mm.
me come to you on the water. Now, here's what I'm convinced of, sis. If Peter who hanged out with Jesus for 3.5 years still cannot distinguish if it is the voice of God or if it is God out there, you know, we,
Right.
we, we, we got a bigger if because we haven't walked with him physically or literally. And so it's a challenge. But one of the things I learned to distinguish between the voice of God and the voice of the enemy or our own inner voice is one is of faith and one is of fear. Because
Mm.
whenever God speaks to us, it's a faith challenge. Whenever the devil speaks to us, it's a fear challenge. It's a fear. Your fear paralyzes us, where faith moves us forward. And God is an encourager. He's not a discourager, and He's a lifter and not a pull down or tearing down. So I always tell people that's number one. The second way you can distinguish between the voice of God and the voice of the devil. The Bible said, in the multitude of counsel. And
Mm.
of course, I mentioned, Bishop T.D. Jakes, Pastor Jenkins, and then my mother in the ministry, Rita Twigs. I don't make any decision. I don't make any decision without talking to one of these three people because all three of them is God's voice in my life. Somebody say, how does God sound like? He sound like Bishop Jakes, he sound like John Jenkins, and he sound like Rita Twigs. And you have to know the people that God has connected you to who can speak, and you like, wait a minute, that's God's voice. It's like when it's storming, your mama says sit still because
Yep.
God is at work, because the thunder and thing, they know the voice of God. And so that's what helps me. And I think that helps people. Make sure you have people in your life who are in tune with God's voice. And when they speak, it is God's voice.
Okay. So I have to ask you a question, right? And there's a lot of talk about spirituality, the Bible and the last days, and then, African spirituality. What
Mhm.
are your views about that?
Oh gosh, we be here all day if we try to talk about all of that.
Right, right.
All I will say is, I'm not too in depth with it, so I can give my opinion of it. But what I am saying is, man has always been searching, and this is another way of searching to find God, to find answers. And I think for many of us in African American, so much of our culture had been suppressed that now you have this group that's saying, hey, listen, we want to add more into Christianity than just the blonde hair, blue eyes, white Jesus that we have been taught, which we know that's not really who Jesus was. So I think in a nutshell, for me, as I'm learning and listening more about it, what I do know is everybody is in search of finding fulfillment and finding God. That's as much as I can share with that, as I'm seeing it evolve, and it is so evolving in such a way.
Okay. Moving on. So, do you think that every couple should seek marriage counseling? And then, if so, how does somebody know they have the right marriage counselor?
Oh, the right marriage counselor.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you think everybody who is married should seek? Is this premarital counseling?
Pre-married, yeah, before they get married.
And so, you don't want me to get into this because,
I
it,
want to hear
first of
it.
all, marriage is a calling.
Okay.
I tell
Okay.
people the reason why I'm not married is because I'm not called to it. Marriage is a calling, just like pastoring is a calling, just like having children is a calling. All of that is a call in. And I think people should view marriage. If you view marriage as a calling, then you're very, just like you're praying and you're seeking guidance and direction, you know what I'm saying? And people confirm the calling on you. When I felt called into ministry, somebody said, we can see the hand of God on your life,
Yeah.
and of course, I was married before, and I remember maybe 2 weeks before I was getting married, a friend of mine, Minister Geraldine Thompson, she said, now, Jazz, this is not God. You don't need to be mad. And I'm like, girl, the cake is already paid for, the dress is already paid for, the honeymoon is already paid for.
Right.
I'm getting mad. It lasted 4 years. Now it was a good 4 years, but that was the size of it because again, it's a calling. And we did all the counseling we can. We Pastor Jenkins counsel us, but you can't force anybody to want to be with you or stay with you when they don't want to. And
Mm.
I think for those who are married who are seeking counseling, I said first of all that you seek counseling if you're part of a local church, or also you seek somebody who doesn't take side. Sometimes we
Mm.
want to pick somebody who's gonna pick my side. That's why your girlfriend can't be your counselor. Your boy, your homeboy can't be it because they're not gonna tell you go home. They're not gonna tell you, man, you ain't doing right. They're gonna take your side. So you want somebody who is invested in the marriage and not so much the individuals. And so you have to interview different people and see if that works. And both of y'all should agree that this is the person we want counseling us.
Okay. Now let's talk about the beginning, because I'm sure at the beginning you didn't have thousands of people to preach to, and Pastor TD, Bishop TD Jakes, and all these wonderful people weren't knocking at your door. So, what kept you going in the beginning, and at what point did you see your ministry hit exponential growth?
Yeah, before anybody knew I was preaching in a tree house in Trinidad. I was preaching to my mama plants. She'll tell me go out there and go water the plants, and I'll be like, I'm preaching to the plants, and the plants waving at me and stuff. What has kept me going is my calling. I know this is what I'm called to do. This is what now I say, like Bishop Jakes, I'm a communicator, and one of the platforms that I use is the pulpit, but I'm a communicator. All right, I love to communicate, and my communication is to build up and to lift up people, and so that's what has kept me going. When I preach in storefront church, I can't tell the difference between a storefront and a mega church because I'm not preaching to the people. I'm preaching to the audience of one. In the words of the Apostle Betty People, I'm preaching with God in mind. Everybody else is just eavesdropping on my conversation that I with God. In terms of how my ministry took off, there was different season and time. When I first started off preaching, I was more in the Baptist world. Everybody in the Baptist world, oh my God, I preach at every Baptist church. I think I've preached at every Baptist church. And then I think I preached at Hampton Ministers Conference. That was the peak of the Baptist world. And then I go to Bishop Jakes and another group that was like the Pentecostal charismatic world, and that just kept on growing. So it was different stages and different season and time that I saw growth. But what I tell people, I think my mother in the ministry, Dr. Twig, says it this way: you can either be a shooting star or a rising star. And
Mm.
the thing with this is not just with preachers, this with people in any profession. You can be a shooting star. And sis, shooting stars, they go up, but
Yep.
they don't last. But a rising star, it takes its time. I'm like a turtle. I may be slow, I may be small, but I'm steady. That's what I
Okay.
tell people. All right. I'm slow, I'm small, but I'm steady. And I used to see all these people run past me and all, and they're like, come on, pick up the pace. I'm like, I'm turtle. I'm gonna be slow. I may be small, but I'm steady. And when the dust settle in the smoke, like after 20 something years, I'm still here.
Wow. 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 I know this isn't one of the questions, but one of the things I admire most about you, you definitely lifted my spirits during COVID. You had your lovely sunglasses on. You were showing up to some of your your ministry houses. Like what inspired you to do that? When we were shut in and people were scared to go out. I mean, you were showing up at nursing homes, people houses, making people's day. What inspired you to do that?
You know what's so crazy when you share that? Because I came back from pastors and leaders with Bishop Jakes, and out of all the places I preach, all the platform I preach, I just got to 100K on Instagram, and I think the last I don't know, 10,000 people started following me because of me dancing in the street. Because of that thing, people like, oh, that's the dancing lady. Oh, that's I'm either the daughter of thunder or I'm the dancing lady. Well, the pandemic. Oh my gosh, it just was. Or when that thing, it just came like, it just came, and I was on social media, and I was just seeing people losing their minds and losing, and because my church was in a school, Bladensburg High School, and churches were shut down, and some people, churches can go back into their building. I wasn't going to go back into a school, so I was like, okay, I'm just going to have to take it to the streets. And I believe people need you twice. The most important time people need you is in crisis and celebration.
Mm.
Crisis and celebration. If you can't be there for somebody in crisis or celebration, you don't need to show up any other time. So I just felt for people because, and I felt for seniors. So people see the dancing. So let me tell you really what I did. I not only danced, but every house you saw me at when I danced, I provided every house with a laptop computer.
Wow.
Every house, because I did not want seniors to be left behind. I
Mhm.
thought because during the pandemic, they can't go nowhere. Church is virtual. How they go? And seniors, they got to get there. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to provide every place. So I found out all people's birthdays, and I would go and dance for their birthdays. And the gift that I would give them was a computer, an iPad, and then my IT team in my church would call them and do a whole training and take them
Oh,
on how to turn the computer on, how to get on Zoom, how to stream the service, how to do all of that stuff. So the dancing in the street was a segue. So I call it ministry. Somebody say, we just kept on seeing you dancing in the street. It was more than just a dance. And, I had the bullhorn, and police would stop, and, and they'll block off the neighborhood. And I enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed preaching.
wow, wow.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for anybody who's having a hard time building and retaining members in the ministry?
Yeah, you know what? Don't think about retaining them. I was
Mm.
talking to Pastor Jenkins, your pastor, and all every pastor is like, Doc, my members are not coming back. They're not coming back. We're not retaining them. I said, well, okay, that's no worries. We're now actually doing the Great Commission. The Great Commission is not to come; it's to go. Matthew 28, go ye therefore into all the world. The church is in the best place that it ever needed to be. But we were so focused on inreach, we
True.
didn't do any outreach. Now we out there doing what we need to do. So I would tell them, don't focus on membership, but focus more on discipleship. Our mission at our church is VGC seeks to glorify God, gathering people and growing them so they can go. That's it. The strength of our ministry is not that they stay. Go. Go. And if you stay for us for 3 months, you stay for us 3 years, eventually, you want your kids to leave your house, don't you?
Right, right.
So I don't know why in the church we want them to stay with us for eternity. No, go, 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 go.
Also, it seems like domestic violence right now is at an all-time high, especially in COVID. And in your book, Dancing with Broken Bones, you share your personal story with domestic violence. So, how did you develop the courage not to go back to that situation? And what do you say to anybody right now, especially women who might be going through that?
Yeah, uh, you need a support system. I thank God for my friend Janie Dukes. I call her my Forrest Gump. Who came and got me and rescued me and snatched me out of that situation. And even when I was thinking about going back, she said, don't you even think about it. I'll kill you and tell God you died. And I looked at my clock because I have my Bible study. So for me is that's the best way. is to have a support system. You can't go it by yourself. And I want to encourage any woman out there, because sis, to go through a divorce or to separate, a lot of women go into poverty because they don't have the finance, they don't have the resources, they don't have the support system, and it's important to have the support system.
Okay. Last two questions. So you stated in one of your messages that the devil reminds you of your past because he doesn't know your future. So how can people get unstuck from their past?
Yeah, I think the best way for people to get unstuck from their past, I always say is, um, uh, Paul said, forgetting those things which are behind, but Paul didn't know that Facebook was coming. Because Facebook reminds you every year. Picture comes up. Ah,
That's
there you
true.
were, with who you were, where you were, when you were, and stuff like that. But the bottom line is, it's the past, and I would not be who I am if I didn't have the past that I had. So I'm not ashamed of my past. I embrace my past, but I remind myself that the rear view mirror is smaller than the front mirror in every car.
Mm, that's so true. So can you tell us why you started your summer camp, Smart Kids for Christ?
Yeah, it's the same way. When I saw kids out there, when I saw the pandemic, two groups of people needed me. I felt like seniors needed me and kids needed me. And so I did my summer camp. I did it virtual the first year of the pandemic. Oh my God, 60 something kids in Zoom. It was phenomenal. We just had a great time. And I did it before even I do it in Trinidad. That's what I do in Trinidad, where I'm from. My summer camp, and it has been phenomenal just doing that. It's just to inspire young people, inspire kids, young kids, plant the seed in them early so when they grow up they can be even stronger.
Wow, wow. Let's talk about your upcoming events. Um,
Absolutely. I've got
so
two of them. There it is. Ha! Victory in person, July the 10th. So listen, I'm doing church so weird. I'm only doing in person once a month. Once a month. People don't need every Sunday. I'm just doing it once a month. Now I'm every Sunday in Zoom at 10 o'clock.
okay.
But once a month is when we gather. That's all we can handle right now. The pandemic is still out there, COVID is still out there. And so we're like, hey, once a month, let's come together every 30 days. So the next one is July the 10th. We're excited. That's this coming Sunday. We practice social distancing. We still wear masks. We do the temperature stuff. And we do it in an hour and 20 minutes, and we're out.
Okay. And what about you? Can you talk about your three books?
Oh, yeah. My first book is Dancing with Broken Bones. My second book is Finally Me for Real. And my third book is Bold Moves. All right. To do what you've never done before. And of course, you can check all of them out on my social media platform. I am Dr. Jazz on Twitter. I am Dr. Jazz on YouTube, on Facebook. I am Dr. Jazz.
Wow, wow, awesome, awesome. So I just want to say thank you again for your time today. Oh, I forgot to ask one more question. What are your views about Roe versus Wade? That's what I forgot to ask you.
Oh gosh. You gonna you got to bring me back on for that one.
Oh my goodness.
You have to bring me
I
back
gotta
on
bring you
for that
back
one.
on for that one. Okay.
For
Okay.
that one. You have to bring me back. But I would say if there's any women out there who are in ministry, I'm having my Women Winning in Ministry virtual summit, I think the end of this month, and they can go to I am Dr. Jazz and check it out. There it is. My Women Winning in Ministry virtual summit, July the 29th to the 30th. It's all virtual. Just charge your computer and register on iamdrjazz.org. But I'm still chewing on that decision. I'm still chewing on that. So I'll come back on and talk about it because that's a whole segment.
Okay. So why do they need to attend? What makes the summit different from the other summits that you've done?
Yeah, well, this is the second year I've done this summit. And I think for women in ministry, as your thing, success, nothing less, a lot of women who are in ministry are being left behind. They are playing checkers. And after the pandemic, it's all about chess. And I want to help women win in ministry, particularly in four areas. Number one, in their money. I don't know why it is women who are in ministry are not making money. I don't know why they think yeah, the brothers are making money. The brothers have 401. The brothers have you name it, and I can go down the list of the brothers. And yet, women in ministry, oh, I'm just working for Jesus and stuff like it's the mentality. So I want you to win in money. Number two, I want you to win in media. Here I am, and I'm virtual, and I'm winning in media. 100,000 people following me on Instagram. You think about it with my Facebook platform, everything. How do you win in social media? Then number three, I want you to win in terms of in the marketplace. So I'm bringing Ambassador Susan Johnson Cook, who's an Obama fellow, who worked in the White House. Susan Johnson Cook. And then I want you to be a master builder. How do you build? So I'm bringing Bishop Rosie O'Neill. I want you to craft your message and stuff. So I just think women are being left behind, and I'm passionate about helping women. I want to help everybody, but I want to help women win, particularly in the area that I have won in, and that's ministry.
All right, awesome. So are there videos, are there any hashtags you're using for that event? Like if people want to submit their reviews
Mm-hmm.
and get in touch with you?
WWIM, Women Winning in Ministry, the WWIM.
Okay, okay, awesome. Well, thank you, Dr. Jazz. Truly appreciate your time today. I think it's the one thing we can never get back. I see nothing but great things for you. I look forward to having you back on. And I'm going to the summit. I'm gonna sign up. I'm gonna give my review.
Yes.
Share with you all, and keep it going. And I truly look up to you. And again, thank you for your time. I'm sure it's changed people's lives, and it's definitely changed mine. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'm on my way to my virtual Bible study.
All
God
right.
bless you, sis. Thank you.